The February wind cut through downtown like a blade, but Evelyn Brooks walked steady, her worn-out flats barely keeping the cold from her feet. She was 43 years old, with kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled and hands roughened by years of honest work. Her coat was clean but faded, purchased from a thrift store 6 winters ago, when her mother insisted she needed something warmer for the bus rides. Mama Eleanor had passed 2 months ago, leaving behind a small apartment full of memories, a lifetime of lessons, and a brown envelope Evelyn still couldn't bring herself to fully understand. First National Heritage Bank stood before her like a marble fortress. Glass doors reflected the gray sky. Brass handles gleamed like they'd never been touched by working hands. Evelyn smoothed her second-hand dress and stepped inside. The lobby smelled like money and judgment. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings so high they seemed to touch heaven itself. Men in tailored suits walked across floors, so polished she could see her reflection. Her tired reflection, a reflection that suddenly felt very small. She approached the counter slowly, clutching the brown envelope against her chest like a shield. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I'd like to check my account balance, please." The man behind the counter looked up. Bradley Whitmore, according to his gold nameplate. Bank manager. He was maybe 50, with silver hair slicked back and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He looked Evelyn up and down, starting at her worn-out shoes and traveling slowly upward, taking in every faded thread, every sign of struggle. Then he laughed, not a polite chuckle, not a confused noise. A full, theatrical laugh that echoed across the marble lobby like thunder. "Check your account?" His voice carried to every corner. Heads turned. Conversation stopped. "Ma'am, this is First National Heritage Bank. We serve clients of distinction here, not ... He paused, letting his gaze fall to her shoes again. "Not whatever this is." Evelyn's heart hammered against her ribs. "Sir, I have an account here. My mother opened it. She passed away 2 months ago and left me, your mother." Bradley cut her off, turning to share an amused look with the teller beside him, a young woman named Chelsea Morrison, whose lip curled with barely concealed disgust. "Let me guess. She also left you a penthouse on 5th Avenue and a yacht in the harbor?" Laughter rippled through the lobby. A wealthy man in a cashmere coat snorted into his phone. A woman with diamonds dripping from her ears didn't bother hiding her smirk. Evelyn felt heat rise to her cheeks. She thought of Mama Eleanor, of her gentle voice saying, "Baby girl, you hold your head high. Dignity ain't something folks can take from you. You carry it yourself." She straightened her spine. "Sir," she said, her voice quiet but steady, "I just need to check my balance. That's all I'm asking." Bradley Whitmore's smile turned cold. He snapped his fingers at the security guard near the door, a tired-looking man named Jerome Davis, whose eyes held something that looked almost like shame. "We'll see about that," Bradley said, snatching the envelope from Evelyn's hands. "But first, let's find out what kind of scam you're really running." Bradley Whitmore rifled through the envelope like he was searching for evidence at a crime scene. His manicured fingers pulled out documents roughly, carelessly, as if Mama Eleanor's careful handwriting meant nothing at all. Then he saw the bank card. Black. Premium tier. Platinum Reserve. For one brief moment, something flickered across his face. Confusion. Maybe even doubt. The card was the kind issued only to high-net-worth clients, the kind that came with private banking services and personal account managers. But prejudice is a powerful thing. It can blind you to what's right in front of your eyes. Bradley shook his head, held up the card like a prosecutor presenting evidence. "Where did you steal this?" His voice rang across the lobby. A black woman from God knows where with a Platinum Reserve card. "You expect me to believe your mother left you this?" "I didn't steal anything." Evelyn's hands trembled at her sides, but she kept her voice calm. It's mine. My mother saved her whole life. Your mother." Bradley threw the card onto the counter. It skidded across the marble surface, nearly falling to the floor. "I've been in banking for 20 years. I know fraud when I see it." He pointed to a row of hard plastic chairs in the far corner of the lobby, near the janitor's closet, near the bathroom entrance. The worst seats in the building. The seats where no one would have to look at her. "Sit over there. Don't move. Don't talk to anyone. I'm calling headquarters to verify this so-called account." Evelyn walked to the corner with her head held high, even as her heart cracked inside her chest. She sat on the cold metal chair, alone, surrounded by marble and brass and wealth that seemed to mock every sacrifice her mother had ever made. She pulled out Mama Eleanor's letter from her pocket. The paper was soft from being handled so many times, the edges fraying like her nerves. "My brave Evelyn." The letter read in shaky handwriting, "Never let anyone make you feel small. You are worth more than they will ever know. I worked my whole life so you could have choices. Use them wisely. And remember, baby girl, dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride." Evelyn read those words 3 times. Then 3 more. Her phone buzzed. A text from her brother Lawrence, stuck in traffic. 20 minutes out. "You okay?" She typed back with trembling fingers. "I'm fine." She didn't mention the laughter, the insults, the way Bradley looked at her like she was something unpleasant stuck to the bottom of his expensive shoes. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. Evelyn sat in her corner, invisible, forgotten, erased. The bank hummed with activity around her. Customers came and went. Tellers smiled and processed transactions. Business continued as usual, but not for her. She watched Bradley help a white man in a golf polo open a new account. The man had arrived 15 minutes after Evelyn. He was served immediately. No questions. No suspicion. No demands for extra identification. Just smiles and handshakes and "Welcome to First National Heritage." She watched Chelsea Morrison bring Bradley a cup of coffee. They stood near the water cooler together, laughing. Their eyes kept drifting toward Evelyn's corner. More laughter. She couldn't hear what they were saying. She didn't need to. An older woman finished her transaction at the main counter. Diane Campbell, well-dressed, pearl earrings, the kind of woman who probably never worried about worn-out shoes. She glanced at Evelyn, and something flickered across her face. Discomfort. Maybe guilt. For one moment, Evelyn thought she might come over. Might ask if she was okay. Might be one person in this marble fortress who showed basic human kindness. But she didn't. She just clutched her designer purse tighter and walked toward the exit. Her heels clicked against the marble floor. Each click a small betrayal. After 42 minutes, Bradley finally called Evelyn over. Not to the main counter where respectable customers were served. To a small desk in the back corner, away from the pleasant banking areas, away from the comfortable chairs and complimentary coffee, visible to everyone, but isolated. Like an exhibit in a zoo. Evelyn sat in the hard plastic chair. She placed her mother's documents on the desk carefully, treating them with the respect Bradley refused to show. He didn't touch them. Didn't even look at them. "Let's try this again." His voice was cold, clinical, performing for the security cameras. "You claim you have an account at this bank. You claim your mother left you money. But you have no guardian present, no proof of current address matching our records, and frankly, ma'am," he leaned back in his chair, "you don't look like someone who belongs in an institution like this." Evelyn's throat tightened. "I have my driver's license. I have my mother's death certificate. I have the bank card with my name on it. I have her letter explaining everything." Bradley picked up her license with 2 fingers, like it might be contaminated. Evelyn Brooks, 43 years old. Address in... He squinted at the card, then laughed. Riverside Heights? That's the projects, isn't it? It's where I live, Evelyn said quietly. It's where my mother raised me and my brother. It's where she taught us that character matters more than addresses. Character. Bradley set down the license. Character doesn't pay banking fees, Mrs. Brooks. Character doesn't maintain minimum balances. Character doesn't qualify someone for a platinum reserve account. My mother had character. Evelyn's voice was soft but firm. She also had this account. For decades. She saved every penny she could while working 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She wore the same coat for 15 years. She took the bus in the rain. She ate cheap food so we could have better. Bradley's expression didn't change. A touching story. Unfortunately, touching stories don't verify account holders. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Spoke quietly into the receiver. Evelyn caught fragments. Suspicious activity. Possible fraud. Send someone from compliance. When he hung up, his smile was almost triumphant. I've requested a full verification from our compliance department. They'll be here shortly to sort this out. He glanced at his watch. In the meantime, I suggest you get comfortable in your corner. This might take a while. Evelyn stood slowly. May I have my documents back? They'll be held for verification. Those are my mother's things. Her letter will be examined for authenticity. Bradley waved his hand dismissively. Now, please return to the waiting area and try not to disturb our actual customers. Evelyn walked back to her corner. The security guard, Jerome Davis, watched her pass. His eyes held something complicated. Regret, maybe. Shame. But he said nothing. He had a mortgage. A family. 11 years building toward a pension. Silence meant survival. Evelyn understood that. She'd spent her whole life understanding that. She sat back down in the cold metal chair and pulled out her phone. Texted Lawrence again. How far away are you? 10 minutes. Traffic is finally moving. Everything okay? She looked at the desk where Bradley was now laughing with Chelsea Morrison. Looked at her mother's documents, carelessly tossed aside. Just hurry. The compliance officer arrived 20 minutes later. A young man named Marcus, barely out of college, with nervous eyes and a tablet clutched against his chest. Bradley intercepted him before he could reach the main counter. They huddled together near the coffee station. Bradley's voice was low but animated. His hands gestured toward Evelyn's corner. Marcus glanced over, his expression uncertain. Then Bradley said something that made Marcus's eyes widen. He pulled up something on his tablet. Scrolled through screens. His face went pale. For one glorious moment, Evelyn thought maybe this was it. Maybe Marcus had found the truth. Maybe he would walk over and tell Bradley that her mother's account was real, that the money was there, that she deserved to be treated with basic human dignity. But Bradley leaned in closer, whispered something. Marcus's expression shifted from surprise to something else. Something uglier. They both looked at Evelyn Dodd, then they laughed. Bradley strode toward her corner, Marcus trailing behind like a loyal puppy. Well, Mrs. Brooks, Bradley said loudly, loud enough for half the lobby to hear, it seems we have a situation. Our records do show an account under Eleanor Brooks. However, there are ... irregularities. Evelyn's heart pounded. What kind of irregularities? The kind that require further investigation. Bradley crossed his arms. The account was opened decades ago. The signature cards are outdated. The beneficiary information doesn't match current protocols. And frankly, given your presentation today, we have concerns about potential elder financial abuse. The words hit Evelyn like a physical blow. Elder abuse? I took care of my mother for 6 years. I bathed her. I fed her. I held her hand when she couldn't remember my name. I never touched a penny of her money. So you say. Bradley's voice dripped with false sympathy. But you understand, we have to protect our clients, even after they're gone, especially from family members who might have influenced their decisions. Chelsea Morrison appeared at Bradley's elbow, her smile sharp as broken glass. Should I call the authorities, sir? If there's suspected financial abuse, double quotes. Not yet. Bradley held up his hand. First, we freeze the account pending investigation. Then, we notify the appropriate authorities. Standard procedure. Evelyn stood up. Her whole body trembled, but not from fear anymore. From something else. Something that felt like fire building in her chest. You can't freeze my mother's account. I have documentation. I have her letter. I have the bank card she gave me herself. Documentation can be forged. Bradley shrugged. Letters can be coerced. And bank cards. He paused, savoring the moment. Bank cards can be stolen from confused elderly women by relatives who know how to manipulate them. The lobby had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. Phones were raised. Someone was filming. Evelyn thought about her mother, about all those years of sacrifice, about the dreams Mama Eleanor had carried, dreams of Evelyn having choices, having opportunities, having a life where she didn't have to beg for basic respect. She thought about walking out, just leaving, letting Bradley win. Then she heard her mother's voice in her head, clear as a bell. Dignity is not given, baby girl. It is carried. Carry yours with pride. Evelyn straightened her spine, looked Bradley Whitmore directly in the eyes. My brother will be here any minute, she said quietly. I suggest you wait before making any decisions you'll regret. Bradley laughed. Your brother? What's he going to do? Bring more forged documents? The glass doors at the entrance swung open. A man walked in. Tall, impeccably dressed in a custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than Bradley's monthly salary. His presence commanded immediate attention. Lawrence Brooks had arrived. Lawrence Brooks moved through the lobby like he owned it. His Italian leather shoes clicked against the marble floor with quiet authority. His eyes swept the space, taking in the crystal chandeliers, the nervous tellers, and finally, his sister sitting alone in the corner with tears she refused to let fall. His expression hardened into something dangerous. Bradley Whitmore noticed the newcomer and immediately transformed. The predator became the salesman. He stepped forward with his most charming smile, hand extended. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to First National Heritage Bank. I'm Bradley Whitmore, branch manager. How may I assist you today? Lawrence looked at the extended hand like it was covered in something unpleasant. He didn't take it. You can start by explaining why my sister has been sitting in that corner for over an hour. Bradley's smile flickered. Your sister? Evelyn Brooks. Lawrence walked past Bradley without waiting for a response. He crossed the lobby to where Evelyn sat, bent down, and took her hands in his. Evie, you okay? She shook her head slightly. Her voice was barely a whisper. They called Mama a fraud. They said I might have stolen from her. They're trying to freeze her account. Something cold and terrible passed through Lawrence's eyes. He squeezed his sister's hands gently, then stood and turned to face Bradley Whitmore. Where are my mother's documents? Bradley's confidence was visibly wavering. I'm sorry, sir, but there are protocols. We can't simply release sensitive materials to, I asked you a question. Lawrence's voice was quiet, deadly quiet. My mother's documents. Where are they? Chelsea Morrison appeared at Bradley's side, her earlier smugness replaced with uncertainty. Sir, we were just following standard verification procedures. You were following standard procedures. Lawrence pulled out his phone. That's interesting, because I'm fairly certain standard procedures Don't include making a grieving woman sit in a corner for an hour while you laugh at her shoes. He held up the phone. On the screen was a real-time security feed of the bank's lobby. Every camera, every angle. I own 12% of First National Heritage's parent company, Lawrence said calmly. I received alerts the moment my mother's account was flagged for investigation. I've been watching everything on my drive over here. Every insult, every laugh, every single thing you said about my sister and my mother. The color drained from Bradley's face. Mr. Brooks, I had no idea. Of course you didn't. Because my sister walked in wearing old shoes and a thrift store dress. Because she lives in Riverside Heights. Because she's a black woman who doesn't look like she belongs in your marble fortress. Lawrence stepped closer. What you couldn't know, what you didn't bother to find out, is that my mother saved nearly $500,000 in this bank over 40 years. That she was one of your oldest and most loyal customers. That she left everything to her daughter, who spent 6 years caring for her through dementia without ever asking for anything in return. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Even the wealthy customers had stopped pretending not to watch. Now, Lawrence said, I'm going to ask you one more time. Where are my mother's documents? Bradley's hands trembled as he gestured toward his desk. There. They're right there. We were just ... You were just what? Protecting the bank? Lawrence walked to the desk, gathered the papers with gentle reverence. You weren't protecting anything. You were enjoying yourself. You saw a woman who looked like she didn't matter, and you decided to make her feel as small as possible. He handed the documents to Evelyn, who clutched them against her chest like precious treasure. But here's what you got wrong, Mr. Whitmore. Lawrence turned back to face the bank manager. My sister has always mattered. She mattered when she was working double shifts to help Mama pay the bills. She mattered when she gave up her own dreams to take care of a woman who couldn't remember her name. She mattered before you ever saw her worn-out shoes, and she mattered long after you've forgotten this day. He paused. The difference is, now you're going to learn what happens when you treat people like they're worthless. Bradley Whitmore's unraveling happened in stages. First came the phone call. Lawrence stepped aside, dialed a number, and spoke in low, measured tones. Within minutes, a notification chimed on Bradley's computer. His face went gray as he read the message. Regional Director. Emergency review. Effective immediately. There must be some misunderstanding, Bradley stammered. I was following protocol. I was protecting the bank from potential fraud. You were protecting your ego, Lawrence said coldly. You saw a black woman in old shoes, and you decided she couldn't possibly be a legitimate customer. You humiliated her in front of everyone. You threatened to have her arrested for financial abuse. You laughed at her mother's memory. Chelsea Morrison had already slipped away from the counter, trying to disappear into the back offices. She didn't make it. Lawrence's voice stopped her. Ms. Morrison, I believe you offered to call the authorities on my sister. Perhaps you'd like to stay and explain that decision to the regional director when she arrives. Chelsea's face crumpled. I was just ... Mr. Whitmore said ... You're an adult. You made choices. Now you'll answer for them. The security guard, Jerome Davis, stood near the entrance, frozen. His eyes met Evelyn's across the lobby. She saw the guilt there, the shame, the years of silence that had cost him pieces of his soul. She didn't look away. But she didn't condemn him either. Some battles weren't hers to fight. The regional director arrived 23 minutes later. Sandra Chun, a formidable woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. She swept into the lobby like a storm front, took one look at the scene, and her expression hardened. My office, she said to Bradley. Now, the door closed behind them. Through the glass walls, everyone could see Sandra reviewing something on her laptop. Bradley's explanations, his gestures, his increasingly desperate attempts to justify himself. Sandra's face never changed. Cold, professional, utterly unmoved. When the door opened again, Bradley Whitmore walked out with shoulders slumped, defeat written in every line of his body. He didn't return to his desk. He walked straight to the employee exit and disappeared. Sandra Chun approached Evelyn and Lawrence with a very different energy. Her voice was warm, genuine. "Mrs. Brooks, I am so deeply sorry for what you experienced today. There is no excuse, and I won't insult you by trying to make one." She handed Evelyn a business card. "This is my direct line. If you need anything related to your mother's account, anything at all, you call me personally." Evelyn took the card with trembling fingers. "What happens now?" "Now we do what should have been done an hour ago. We help you access your account with the dignity and respect every customer deserves." Sandra paused. "And Mr. Whitmore has been terminated, effective immediately. His behavior was not just wrong. It was a violation of everything this institution claims to stand for." Lawrence nodded once. "And the others? The teller who wanted to call the police? The customers who laughed? Those who work here will face appropriate consequences. Those who don't," Sandra's jaw tightened, "they'll have to live with themselves." She turned back to Evelyn, her voice softening. "Your mother was a customer here for 40 years. I looked up her records. She opened that account with a $12 deposit in 1984. $12. And she never missed a single deposit. Through recessions, through hardships, through everything life threw at her." Sandra smiled sadly. She must have been an extraordinary woman. Evelyn felt the tears finally fall. She was. She really was. The lobby had transformed. The wealthy customers who had laughed were silent now, suddenly very interested in their phones, in their papers, in anything except the scene unfolding before them. Diane Campbell, the woman who had chosen silence, stood near the exit. She hadn't left. Couldn't seem to make herself walk through those glass doors. Evelyn noticed her watching. Their eyes met. Diane approached slowly, clutching her designer purse like a shield. Up close, she looked older than she had before, tired, haunted. "I wanted to say something," she said quietly. "When he was talking to you like that, I wanted to speak up. She swallowed hard. "I didn't." Evelyn studied her for a long moment. This woman who had everything, who could have used her voice, who had chosen comfort over conscience. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need you to know that I know, that I saw what I did, what I didn't do." Diane's voice cracked. "I've been that person my whole life. The one who stays quiet, the one who looks away, and I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of being someone I'm ashamed of." It would have been easy to dismiss her, to offer cold forgiveness that meant nothing. But Evelyn thought about her mother, about all the lessons Mama Elena had taught her over 43 years. "Bitterness is a poison you drink yourself, baby girl. It doesn't hurt them. It only hurts you." "Thank you for telling me," Evelyn said softly. "What you do next matters more than what you didn't do before. Remember that." Diane nodded, tears streaming down her face. She walked out of the bank, but something in her posture had changed. Something had shifted. The formal process didn't take long. Sandra Chun personally escorted Evelyn to a private office, one with comfortable chairs and fresh coffee and a view of the city skyline. No corner near the janitor's closet. No hard plastic seats. The numbers appeared on the screen. $487,43. Evelyn stared at the figure, unable to speak. 40 years of her mother's sacrifice reduced to digits on a screen. And yet somehow, those digits meant everything. "Your mother also left a letter in our secure files," Sandra said gently. She updated it just before her dementia progressed. Would you like to read it? The letter was typed, clearly dictated to someone with steadier hands. But the words were pure Mama Eleanor. My beautiful Evelyn, if you're reading this, I'm with the Lord now, and you're wondering why I never told you about the money. The truth is simple. I wanted you to learn that life isn't about what you have. It's about who you are. You are kind. You are brave. You are everything I ever dreamed my daughter would be. Not because of any inheritance, but because of your heart. Use this money to build the life you deserve. Help your brother help others. And remember, baby girl, dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. Mama Evelyn wept. Lawrence held her. Sandra Chun quietly stepped out to give them privacy. When the tears finally slowed, Evelyn looked at her brother. She saved this her whole life. Wearing the same clothes. Taking the bus. Eating cheap food. Also, we could have choices. Lawrence nodded. She gave us everything, Evia. Everything. What do I do with it? Whatever you want. Whatever she would have wanted. Lawrence smiled softly. What do you think that is? Evelyn thought about the young teller who had sneered at her. About Jerome Davis, the security guard trapped by his own silence. About every person who had ever sat in that corner, invisible and forgotten. I think, she said slowly, Mama would want me to make sure no one ever feels the way I felt today. Not if I can help it. 3 weeks later, a video surfaced online. Not from the bank's security cameras. Those were sealed. From a customer's phone. The young professional who had filmed that day originally meant to post it for laughs. Drama at the bank. Easy engagement. Quick views. But he had watched everything. Watched Lawrence arrive. Watched Bradley crumble. Watched justice unfold in real time. And he felt something unexpected. Shame. He had stood there filming, entertained by a woman's humiliation. What kind of person did that make him? He deleted the original footage. But guilt festered. Wouldn't let him sleep. 3 weeks later, he posted something different. His own face. His own confession. I was there that day. I watched a bank manager humiliate a black woman for wearing old shoes. I watched. I laughed. I filmed it like it was entertainment. I was wrong. I was part of the problem. That woman showed more dignity than anyone in that lobby, including me. Especially me. So, if you ever see something like this happening, don't watch. Don't film. Don't laugh. Speak up. Because silence makes you complicit. I learned that the hard way. Don't be like me. The video went viral. 3 million views in 5 days. Comments flooded in. People shared their own stories. Their own shame. Their own promises to do better. A national conversation started about bias. About assumptions. About the snap judgments we make based on appearance. Evelyn never saw the video. Lawrence made sure of that. She'd been through enough. But the message spread anyway. 8 months later, Evelyn Brooks stood in front of a small building in Riverside Heights. Fresh paint. New windows. A sign above the door that read, Eleanor Brooks, Community Center. She had used part of her mother's money to buy the abandoned building on her block. The rest she donated to Lawrence's company, which had established the Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship for students from underserved communities. The community center offered job training, financial literacy classes, legal aid, and every Wednesday evening, a support group for caregivers who had given everything to help the people they loved. Jerome Davis, the security guard, had retired from the bank. Now he volunteered at the center 3 days a week, helping families navigate systems that often seemed designed to keep them down. I stayed silent once, he told Evelyn. Never again. Not as long as I live. Diane Campbell had joined the bank's community advisory board. The woman who had watched in silence became a voice for change. She volunteered at schools, spoke to students about courage, about speaking up, about the cost of staying quiet. "I was a bystander," she told them. "I chose comfort over conscience. It's a choice I regret every single day. Don't make my mistake." Chelsea Morrison had resigned from the bank and enrolled in social work school. She spent her days now learning how to help families like the one she used to dismiss. She never forgot Evelyn. Never forgot how close she had come to being exactly like Bradley Whitmore. Bradley himself disappeared. Some said he moved to another state. Some said he drank himself into obscurity. Some said he finally understood what he had done, spent his days volunteering at shelters, trying to make amends. Nobody knew for sure. Maybe that was its own kind of justice. Evelyn stood at the community center window, watching children play in the new playground outside. Her worn-out shoes sat on a shelf in her office, right next to Mama Eleanor's photograph. She would never throw them away. Never. They reminded her that love isn't about what you have. It's about what you give. Her phone buzzed. Lauren's stock grand opening went perfectly. Mama would be proud. "How are you feeling?" Evelyn smiled, touched the photograph gently. "Proud," she typed back. "And grateful. And ready to help whoever walks through those doors next, because that was Mama Eleanor's real legacy. Not the money, not the building, not even the scholarships that would change young lives. It was the lesson she had carried her whole life. The lesson she had passed to her daughter. The lesson Evelyn would now pass to everyone who needed it. Dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride, and help others carry theirs. That's how we change the world. One small act of courage at a time. And asterisk. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and become a part of our Unbroken Grace Stories community. Where are you watching from?